All right, everybody, here it is, the last of the Final Fantasy IX characters, old Final Fantasy IX characters, upgraded. And wouldn't you know it, Umbra saved the best for last. That's right. I have positive things to say about Vivi, and I think everybody else will have positive things to say about Vivi. So let's get right into it. Because Vivi is one of the characters that a lot of people invested in early on, and so for him to get the best upgrades and him just essentially being one of the most popular FF9 characters, if not one of the most popular Final Fantasy characters, don't at me. That should basically tell you that I think that the devs do consider a little bit more based on popularity when a character could be given extra boost. So originally, master ability for this guy was just magic attack resistance penetration of 20 and critical evasion of 20. Not overly that great. So what do we have instead? Well, to start, increase generally mostly the same. Magic attack resistance penetration has stayed at 20. Critical evasion has stayed at 20. But we do have an increase of AoE resistance penetration by 40 for himself, which is pretty nice in combination with the other boosts that he does have for damage. Means that he will be doing much better damage on his big AoEs, and his big AoEs are what we are absolutely interested in this. Also, increase accuracy by 60 if you have either Protect or Re-Raise, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. 60 accuracy is a really big boost for a condition that's not that hard to meet, either by a Trust Mastery or just via his own kit. Protect and Re-Raise are both things they can have active and are kind of difficult to actually dispel, which means that Vivi is kind of just really great for being able to deal with evasion characters. So that's pretty nuts, and that's permanently in his kit. So long as he has one of those two actives, it's really just impossible to dispel. And evasion isn't going to be dispelling that anyway. So next, 200% chance for magical damage increase of 20% for self, or damage, which is, again, Vivi's main goal, so he's just going for it. AoE resistance increase of 20 makes him a little bit harder to kill. And single target resistance of 20. Basically, I think that Vivi's master abilities are very well focused to making him feel like a much more modern character. But I'd still love to have seen a stat boost. Of course, I'm greedy when it comes to characters I like. I want to see the best for them, and my dream is for them to supplant the most recent characters and just be like, hey, you spent $300 trying to get Kuja maxed? Well, guess what? My 2-year-old Vivi, 1-year-old Vivi, can just smoke him in matches. Always the dream. But let's move on and talk about the ability that has been upgraded, which is one of his support skills, the 34 TP, that now... basically it's his Protect skill that he had before, but now it reduces the damage taken by 50% for 4 times for self, grants Protect, again, for 4 turns for allies, which is nice. It's up from 3 turns before, so that's a net positive, but again, Protect is a 60 accuracy boost, so we're that. Grants the following effect upon hit for allies of Re-Raise, Remove, Sealing for 3 turns, which isn't new, but it essentially that sealing still lasts for 3 turns, but the effect of how long you can get a hit away from it is for 4 turns, so that's really cool. Grants the following effect upon for allies, seals also barrier destruction, and this is new. This was not on his previous one, so now Vivi can basically make sure that others are protected in form of their Re-Raise as well as their barriers, and that's quite valuable. That's a hell of a lot of value coming off of this. Great. Increase magic attack resistance penetration by 40 for 4 turns, which is up from 3. This is the kind of upgrade we want. This is very powerful. This is good for survivability. It's upped its survivability, it's upped the damage, and it's upped the utility. All off of one. This feels like a much more modern ability. Now, that essentially concludes talking about what we got from his master ability. You can see I'm pretty positive on this character already. I'm feeling like Vivi is going to do quite well, especially because, hey, guess what? X-Death is pretty damn good. Shrekken is pretty damn good. There's a lot of avenues for people to run a black mage team and be quite successful. How about we just, I'm going to make a statement right now. That's right, I upgraded without even looking. Why? Well, because the limit burst is quite possibly the greatest thing that we are looking at. It's still short range, it's still expensive, and you still only get one use. But reduces the chance, or reduces magical damage taken increase buff for targets is something that is actually new here. And that's great because there is a lot of magical damage reduction, so if you can just get rid of that at the same time as dealing a lot of damage, it's going to be great. Also, we have the 200% chance for the magic damage increase of 20% turns. That, of course, stacks with every other buff that we have, so that's really nice. 200% mod on it, so the mod hasn't changed. So drum roll, please. What's the big thing? Well, how about a 2-turn stun? That's nasty. That is one of the nastiest things you can potentially do. Stun is a really nasty status effect that is hard to deal with, and if you are not prepared for it, it can knock you flat on your ass. It's not like Confusion where it can be a little bit up and down, Charm, which is not really seen that much. Hell, even Curse, which for all of its glory in the fact that it can essentially disable healing, kind of doesn't go as well as this. Even Paralysis can be the most annoying thing when your opponent hits you with a Paralysis and you can't do anything, but then you hit your opponent with a Paralysis and they get to use multiple turns. Stun just locks out your opponent, and 2 turns is a long time to survive in with some of the damage dealers that are actually out there. What I mean to say here is that I love Vivi's upgrade. Vivi's upgrades are perfect for what we want from this character. Very powerful, very strong, and very capable of doing a lot of damage and wrecking an opponent's team for many different reasons, as well as protecting his own ally. Now, talking about the Mage Staff, his piece of equipment, really hasn't changed too much except for a, let's just make sure here, reducing physical damage taken by 10% instead of 8%. So his piece of equipment is probably the softest upgrade that we've seen here, but that's okay. The rest is really, really good. So Vivi does, to me anyway, end up as being one of the best character upgrades by far. Not even by a little bit. Compared to Zidane and Garnet, this character seems head and tails above for a ton of different combos. Makes me very happy to recommend him most. As a matter of fact, out of all of this will probably be the character where I'm dumping all of my FF9 orbs into, because he just seems good value with X-Death, who I previously also upgraded. And probably he deserves a little bit more of a video, so maybe we'll be doing some tests in Arena with him this week. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Take care. See you later.